I am joined by Taylor men's soccer head coach Gary Ross to look back at the 2020 season for he and the Trojans. Gary, obviously not as many wins as you would have liked this year with the boys, but what did you think about the season overall and just the fact that you're able to have a season from start to finish?
Yeah, I think, probably the most significant thing is we were just grateful to be able, to play. Obviously, with the season getting cut short and having the schedule changed, and you sort of had to be kind of on your toes the entirety of the experience. But when you compare it to what was going on with universities all across the nation not being able to play at all, we were thankful. Obviously, we wanted a little bit better results than what we got, but we changed a lot of things and kind of saw a lot of improvement. We just didn't see improvement in the results, but we saw improvement in the way we played. So we were happy with that. But grateful is probably the word that we would provide. Not a lot of teams were playing this fall, so we were happy to be one of them.
You mentioned it. You and the coaching staff decided to change tactics, go with a different point of emphasis for the men's soccer team this season, and obviously that kind of the pandemic and everything getting shut down in the spring threw a wrench into those plans. How difficult is it to try to do such a drastic change tactically and try to cram it into maybe 3 weeks where you might have had, over a month to try to work those kinks out and really hammer home the ground layers and the basics of that new tactical system?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was just 3 weeks. I would say we took about the entirety of the season to try to get, the tactics employed. And we just knew at some point we had to bite the bullet. And we had, with the two previous seasons, playing a very defensive-minded counterattack style. We were playing to our strengths. We had good defenders. We had a very good goalkeeper in Luke. We just weren't scoring, and it's not that we just weren't scoring. We just weren't scoring. We weren't getting the opportunities that we needed to get, and so we needed to change that. And we were willing to sacrifice some of the goals going in, to the back of our net in trade off of throwing more numbers up and trying to get obviously more shots off and to be able to keep the ball better. And I think we did that. I mean, you can look at certain games like before we got the red card at Spring Arbor, we ended up outpossessing them about 65% to 35%. And in years past, I mean, we haven't even been close to that. It's been, we just hope to hang on to the ball about, 25% of the time and look to counterattack. So, we walked away genuinely disappointed with that loss, not just because we got outplayed because we didn't think we did, just that we didn't get the result because I think we earned it. And they ended up winning, the league tournament. And so, we know we're capable of playing at that level, and we just have to kind of get over the hump and to be able to not be able to have a spring. What that ended up meaning was we didn't all the possession work that we did all fall long in every training session. I mean, it was redundant. I mean, we kept pounding it because we knew it takes time. But we knew we had to bite the bullet at some point, like I said. And so to do that all fall long, it's just what it took. And now, we got to the end of the season, and we were very pleased with the development we'd seen in a lot of players and and in the style itself, which I think was definitely big. But we would have loved to have had the spring. But again, not going to complain, man. We had a season we were able to play, and that was a pretty good thing.
We saw a lot of guys, freshmen and sophomores, play key roles for your team this year, starting or coming off of the bench. What was it like to watch them mature and grow, not only with this new style, but with college and college soccer and college life as they went from the beginning of the season to the end?
Yeah, I mean, it's whenever you play a lot of younger players, you sort of anticipate some key mistakes will be made that will cost you something. And we definitely saw that in a few games. But overall, I think we were very pleased with our freshmen. They were a very good class that we brought in. The upperclassmen, they would acknowledge that. Yeah, coach, these are some good players, and it just takes time to kind of get used to the college game. It takes time getting used to, even like, a freshman comes out on the field and, they play Bethel one night and Grace the next, and they don't know who they are. They're just like, well, that's the blue team and that's the red team, and we'll just try to beat them. Now that you've been here a little bit, you've been here a year, you understand who's who. I think it provides a little bit more of context and understanding, and now they've just been through a season, and they understand what teams are what, and they understand what it takes to win, and they understand what it's like to be a college, student athlete, and so that's it just takes time. And so whenever you bring in freshmen, unless they're surrounded by on the field by like, a plethora of seniors, which we didn't have on the field as much this year, then they just sort of learn on their own a bit. And again, it was just kind of maybe I'd say the theme of the year was bite the bullet, take the short-term pain right now in our development of what we're trying to do, and throw a bunch of freshmen out there who are clearly good players, who just need time, and they need, just moments on the field to get used to the game. It's just what it takes. And so we were willing to make that decision this year.
Let's talk about your senior class. Obviously special, and you mentioned they had to make some sacrifices with the changing of the style, something they had been using the last couple of years. System, what did it mean to watch them close out their careers this year?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say like they all handled it really well, honestly. It's not easy. I remember being a student athlete myself and being an upperclassman. I'd gotten injured, blown my knee, and I'm seeing these younger guys come in and maybe take some of my playing time that, I thought maybe, hey, why am I not playing anymore? These guys had some of those same situations, right? And they handled it great. I mean, we didn't have guys, revolting inside the team. They weren't, coming at us and, questioning us all the time. They just went out there and they did what was asked of them. I feel badly for them. I mean, I feel badly that, this was their experience of the build up to their senior season. They, were sent home March 13th, and they didn't get a spring, and they didn't get to develop in that time. And then they didn't get to develop, as much as we would have liked to have seen. A number of our seniors, when we instituted the JV team a few years back, a number of these seniors, we sort of needed them to play some minutes on the JV side too. And so that, I would just say they had a hard 4 years. And, I think when we beat Mount Vernon a couple of years ago in the tournament, we made it to the semis. I think, they were able to experience that. But I think it was just a lot of transition within the program at the beginning of their time here and at the end. And so, I think a testament to just kind of who they were and the kind of guys they were. One example is you got Tyler Dayhoff, who has had, he was riddled with injury all throughout his senior year, or through his career. And then by his senior year, he ends up getting the start at the 9 in his last game, and he scores his first college goal, and just worked really hard, played really well. Maybe he started against Huntington the day before or the game before, but he just kind of came into it, right, kind of by the end, and he just stuck with it. He could have very easily just quit, could have very easily just kind of showed up and punched the clock and then left when the time was over. And he didn't do that. He chose to keep a ridiculously positive attitude and to work really hard. And he got a lot better in his last season because of that. And so, those are lessons we hope they take with them as they venture off into the world and become husbands and dads and employees, man.
What are the plans for you and the guys, hopefully with a longer spring in a couple of months? Obviously, they're home right now taking final exams, but what are the plans for the spring? I'm sure a lot more possession work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a lot more possession work as well. The futsal that we typically do, we're not allowed to be around it, with coaches because of the 24-week rule. But the futsal that our guys do in the off season, that helps a ton with the possession, and they'll do a ton of that. We'll also probably do some once we kick back into being able to train with our guys again. We'll probably do some futsal in addition to what we're doing outside. But I think, after our season ended, after the last game, we actually kept training for about two and a half weeks. And it was because we just wanted to keep getting better, and the guys were enjoying the possession. They were liking it. It was hard. I mean, the guys were tired, but I think they would all look back on it now and say, yeah, I mean, it was good. It was worth it. And so we're just going to continue to hammer that possession stuff. We're going to be able to work on some other things too. I think we've gotten ourselves kind of a baseline to where we can kind of institute some of our transition from defense to attack, and then really what it looks like when we lose the ball, how to get the ball back quicker. And so we can work on some of those transition times in the game. But our guys just need loads and loads of time just playing with each other. I was having a conversation with a couple of our underclassmen yesterday, and one of them was talking about just how he developed kind of some chemistry with some players that he hadn't developed. This is Alzadi, John, that we were talking to, who also came on strong at the end of the year. And you could kind of see that, yeah, he scored against Huntington, almost had the game tying goal against Spring Arbor. And so, and that was just because we just played a ton. And so the more that we played, played possession, the more chemistry that was built, and the better the guys got at it. So, it's going to continue to be a mainstay. It's going to be continue to be a focus. The other thing is strength training. We got Jude working with the guys in the off season in the weight room, and like Quinn Partain this last year, we worked really hard to get his body bigger and stronger. Make sure he wasn't injured. He gained about 10 pounds in the off season last year. He lost about all of that weight by the end of the season this year, but he wasn't injured at all, right? So he was able to kind of maintain his entire play throughout the year with no nagging injuries. And that's the kind of thing we need to do with all of our players and, kind of build them up so they can last. But give them the break now, give them about, 4 weeks off or so, let them have Christmas and get, done with all their finals. And then we'll see them back in January.
Gary, thanks for luck with all the prep work for the 2021 campaign.
Yep. Thanks.
That is Gary Ross, the Taylor men's soccer head coach, joining me today to stay up to date with everything Taylor men's soccer. Just log on to TaylorTrojans.com.